This video is brought to you by Blue Guardian, the only prop firm that protects their traders.
Before we created that lower high, we created equal highs. So building that liquidity to be run later. We swept the buy side liquidity and then made another lower low. In the process, generating trend line liquidity here. 1, 2, and 3 touches. Retail was shorting upon this third touch. And then we can see with that influx of buying volume, we swept that liquidity, enticed buyers into the market, had that reaction short, almost like that break and retest. So retail again went long, and then we fell. So retail was screwed over there, and then smart money came into play, so that leaves those areas of supply for continuation. So that's exactly what we are looking at. What's going on, fellow traders? Welcome back to another episode of the pre-market analysis series here on the TRADINGNUT YouTube channel. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your weekend thus far. A lot of great setups I'm about to present to you all today, so definitely take the allotted time for this video and make sure you are writing down notes and jotting this stuff down on your charts. Every single week we go over setups here within these pre-market analysis videos. And a lot of them, I will say, do play out as expected. So definitely pay attention. Go back and watch other pre-market analysis videos. Although they are a video in the past, it definitely is something to review for learning purposes. So anyways, we have about 10 pairs I'm going to go over today. Very short and sweet. Just going to get right into it and get to the point here.
Our sponsor, Blue Guardian, is the only prop firm that gives their traders a tool to protect them from hitting their max daily loss and overtrading. It's super simple to use. Just set the Guardian Protector each day from your dashboard. Did you also know that they've just released an unlimited time evaluation with a 0 trading days requirement, giving you plenty of time to hit their low 8 and 4% targets, making it super fast to get funded. Plus, it's cheaper than the 40-day time limit evaluation. Check out the link and coupon in the description to get 10% off your next Blue Guardian evaluation.
So first and foremost, Euro AUD, looking for further continuation to the downside. We are in an overall downtrend here within this 1 hour, 4 hour time frame. I do believe that we will run a little bit lower as we are still higher time frame bullish. I want to dig a little bit deeper into this region of demand. This is the previous market structure, and I do believe that since we are currently bearish here in this time frame, that we will have at least one more drive into the low and take out sell side liquidity that's resting right around 6,450. So zooming into this area of demand, we can see that when we rebounded off of this level of demand to make that higher low to then make another higher high, we had a little bit of a repricing event right in here. I know it's not easily seen, but that is an area of demand, and I do think that price will come further down into that level, sitting in and around 164, 164.15-ish. So I do believe we have some further room to go to the downside. The Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar are quite strong at the moment, so I definitely expect Euro AUD to continue to fall. Now, we did talk about this level last week in the pre-market analysis video. I said that we could definitely look to pull back into these two levels of supply for another leg to the downside. So as price continued to form this past Monday, I should say, we created equal highs in the lower time frame, started to expand away, and then had one final drive up into that high to take buy-side liquidity and mitigate that level of supply. So we're seeing the continuation now. So we have one of two options that I think that we'll likely see. And before I get into those options here, I just want to quickly go over the structure and the manipulation that led to the continuations here. So we created that lower low and that lower high, right? Before we created that lower high, we created equal highs. So building that liquidity to be run later. We swept the buy side liquidity and then made another lower low. In the process, generating trend line liquidity here. 1, 2, and 3 touches. Retail was shorting upon this third touch. And then we can see with that influx of buying volume, we swept that liquidity, enticed buyers into the market, had that reaction short, almost like that break and retest. So retail again went long, and then we fell. So retail was screwed over there, and then smart money came into play, so that leaves those areas of supply for continuation. So that's exactly what we are looking at. We have two levels. We had this last buying volume in here that ultimately led to the lower low, but we also have that last buying volume that was the result of the huge buy to sell that ended up creating that lower low. So we could easily come back up into that level, sweep buy side liquidity. This was Thursday's high of this week. So come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, anytime next week, we could easily see that quote unquote previous week's high run into that supply zone for continuations lower. This is not a low in the market. These are relatively equal lows, so I am expecting that liquidity to be run within momentum. If we don't end up coming above this high, what we could see is this repricing event here, that last buying volume. So we could just have a retest of that level and then look to go long. All right, in here, excuse me, go short. Sorry, my mouse is not cooperating. Anyways, so that could definitely be a level more intraday, and this could be an overall low if we have an overall pullback, ultimately leading to 1.64. So that is Euro AUD. Euro NZD, relatively the same. However, Euro NZD came into a very interesting level that I want to go over with you guys. So within the higher time frame, we can see we're clearly in an uptrend. I know it's blurry. I just want to see. I want to let you guys see the whole picture. We have this higher high, we have this higher low, and we have another higher high. So within this expansionary move, we have a series of higher highs and higher lows here. High, low, high, low, high, low, high. So where is the current range of the market? Well, the current range is from this low to this high, because this is the expansion that created the higher high above our previous high. So let's zoom into that level and kind of see what's going on in and around these price points. So when we first created a high and we failed to generate a lower low, we then created another higher high. We can see that this is really just low resistance liquidity, just trickle. So when we don't have a clear reaction off of the counter trend, because we can see here, this is the counter trend, low, high, low, high, low, we would like to see that reaction from that level to then look to continue to go long. We never had that reaction. We just blitzed right through it, so that would create our inside demand. So we can extend that over, and that's exactly where we came into. But prior to coming into that, we created this head and shoulders. We faked out below the head and shoulders neckline, and then we broke structure to the upside, meaning this previous high here. So when we were in this counter trend, that's why I always say, look for the counter trend. Where did we break? Where did we reprice? Where did we continue? So in this case, this is the counter trend here. That's the last buying volume. That ultimately led to the continuations higher. So that's the retest zone. We created liquidity prior to coming into that level, swept the sell side, made a higher high in comparison to that high because that's the end of the counter trend here. And then we actually came down and we did sweep this low. So, I would have definitely have liked to have taken a long from that level. And we did have a reaction from it. We never had any follow through. However, we did end up having one more sweep to the downside, sell side run, and then we continued. So that's, it is what it is. If you had have placed that long, I would not have been mad at all. That would have been a great opportunity. And that's just why, you have setups that are the exact same, that maybe one wins and one loses. That's why you have to just stick to your trading plan and understand that you're not going to win every trade. You're not supposed to win every trade. That's just not how the Forex market or really any market works. You're going to lose even when all of your rules are met. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means you have to keep attacking the market the same way the next go around. So ended up losing that trade if you were to have taken it, but the same concepts apply. What did we do? We created a higher high. We broke the counter trend structure again. And we can see really all in all, guys, with all this market structure, with all this supply and demand levels, we have the inside demand here, we have regular demand here, we have another inside level of demand here. We have manipulation, we have retail fake outs. All in all, this is just a overall uptrend, right? So we don't have to complicate this. We just want to follow the overall structure. So we ended up creating a higher high, and now we're in this pullback phase, right? This is the expansion, this is the overall pullback. And we can see we have tons of buy-side liquidity. We have 1 touch, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches of that retail trend line. And then in here we have another 3 touches, 1, 2, and 3. So I definitely expect overall price to rebound and go long, whether that be another higher high or just some form of buy to sell. Of course, we are in an uptrend, so I would definitely expect a higher high. But going back to what I was talking about before in here, this is our last point of return, right? This is the last region in which price could come into, meaning this higher high, higher low sequence before it would end up breaking structure. And naturally, we would like to see continuations. So that would be that inside level of demand. Because what do? We look at the counter trend. We have a low, we have a high, we have a low, we have a high, we have a low, and then we broke. This is the end of the counter trend. Where is the last buying volume, or really selling volume? But since this is an inside demand, it's just last buying volume. And it's right in here. Right? We never had a reaction, a failure to generate the lower low, and then the higher high that would create that demand. So you guys can see that picture there. So that's why we have to extend that inside demand over. So we have now come into that level, and I know I said we're looking for further Euro AUD shorts, which we are. However, we are looking for ultimately Euro NZD to go long. However, if Euro AUD is to go short, Euro NZD will probably follow suit. And New Zealand dollar and Aussie dollar are quite strong at the moment. I don't want to fight that momentum. We also have this 1 hour 50 EMA approaching our level of supply here. So this is really the last buying volume, right? The last buying volume before we made that lower low. So we could easily pull back up into that level and then continue to go short. However, I would like to see, if we are to go long, a rebound and then the break of structure, and then we look for pullbacks to continue. Same thing, going back up to your AUD right here. I would like to see, if we are to go long, some sort of sell side and then the follow through to the upside to then pull back and long like that. So looking at both directions at this moment, it's not very clear. I would definitely like to continue to follow the trend in terms of selling your AUD and your NZD. However, we are entering into these areas of interest on the higher time frame within both of these pairs. So definitely something to look out for. Euro GBP looking to continue to follow the structure and the trend. We can see that, I know we have been consolidating for quite some time, but we can see this previous sell side liquidity. That was run, sell to buy. We never ended up coming down into that last selling volume. You can see that we just failed to do so within a couple of pips. So if price actually wants to, end up pulling all the way back down, I will treat the structure from this low to this high, because that's ultimately where it is. This is the overall pullback, that's the expansion. So could we come back down, have that overall pullback into that level, sweep sell side right here and go long? Absolutely. That's something that could happen. However, I would like to just first continue to trade lower time frame, because we are definitely still bullish on the lower time frame. If we are to go short, I'm not saying we're going to, but if we are, then we have what we have to look for is our previous expansion. Right, so if this is our expansionary move here, this would be our pullback. Where would be that last buying volume within this pullback here that would allow us to take price short from a level of supply? Well, this is the last buying volume here. We can see that that's the failure to generate any sort of higher high, and then we continued lower and finally broke and made that lower low. So we can see that this would be one expansion, sort of one pullback in a sense, or kind of consolidation, and then another expansion short. So that would be that level of supply in which we look to not necessarily take shorts from, but look to take profit on any long opportunities that we have. And that's exactly what we're looking for now, because we still have room to go to the upside and we have opportunities to long within the current lower time frame trend. So going down to the 1 hour time frame, I always say continue to trade with the trend until it breaks. I would look at this from obviously a higher time frame perspective. This could be one expansion, one pullback, one expansion. Or we can look at it from a semi-lower time frame perspective. Expansion, pullback, expansion, pullback, expansion, to where we can have a pullback and then an expansion again. Or we look at it from a lower time frame perspective. High, low, high, low, high, low, high. And then we look for a low and then continuation. So at the end of the day, right, this is our last pullback before the last expansion. If we come into that level and then continue, great. If not, and we break, we have to look at the semi-higher time frame, which would be expansion, pullback, expansion. Then we look at price to come into our last selling volume within the previous pullback on the higher time frame, which is here. If that fails and we continue lower, we zoom back out to see if we're still bullish, and we are, and that's the higher time frame expansion here. So where's the last selling volume with the higher time frame pullback? And it's right here. So that's where we could come into to go long. So I don't care if I lose this one, but as long as I win one of them, I'm going to be overall profitable. But if we look at the market structure, we will have not 100% certainty, but a high probability that we will continue long versus short. So that makes for a good setup as long as you just continue to follow the structure. So we have that higher time frame level. I talked about this level here, the semi-higher time frame with that last selling volume, because you just classify structure in terms of right here, high, low, high, right? So that would be the last pullback. That would be the last selling volume. We also have a lot of imbalance, the straight buying volume in there. Now, going to the lower time frame, if we end up just continuing to just follow the structure here, in which we did talk about yesterday. I talked about this in my VIP daily market analysis video, which are sent out every single day to give you guys additional setups and directional biases. We had this level of demand, higher high, pull back into that demand. Creating another demand level here, higher high, pull back into that demand, and we took a long. So phenomenal trade to end the week. So congrats to all you guys. But I'm going to scale in here and just look to continue with the lower time frame trend here. So where is the current range of the lower time frame? Well, if this is the last pullback, this must be the last expansion. So this is the range from that low to that high. We can see that we have sell side liquidity 1, 2, and 3. So retail is buying within this trend line. So I'd like to see that sweep of liquidity come next week and then the continuations. So where would that area of demand be? Well, we have this area of demand. That's the last selling volume for sure. That's definitely an area. But we also have this imbalance. It's the straight buying volume. So Never offered any sells, so we'd like to make that market efficient in that regard and then continue long. So around 8,650 would be my level. And obviously, if that breaks, we'll look to just have that deeper retracement into our higher time frame zones in which we have discussed before. So that's Euro GBP.
All right, folks, I'm here at Black Bull Markets headquarters in Auckland, New Zealand. You can see this amazing view behind me of Auckland Harbour. Now, talking about views, if you do want to get free TradingView Pro, then all you need to do is trade one lot a month at Black Bull Markets, and they're going to give you free TradingView Pro. So, folks, to find out more, click the link in the description below or the card above.
Moving on, Euro USD. Dollar is still strong. We do not want to fight that. You know, it has been strong for quite some time. We're going to see that throughout this video, that the theme will be continued dollar bullishness. So let me just zoom out here. We are entering into an interesting level of demand. I know that many people would say, oh, we broke structure here. We closed below the previous low. You know, possibility. That's definitely possible. However, I would like to see, if we don't react off the previous demand like we didn't here, I wouldn't be so quick to judge that this is an actual break of structure. I would think of it first as more of a sell-side liquidity run for continuations higher. So then I'd just look left below this level and we can see that our last selling volume with the previous structure is right in here. So created the accumulation, last selling volume. So we are entering into that region now. If we break that level and go short, then I'd probably say, okay, we're likely to continue short from the higher time frame. But we're entering into that region now. If I scale out to the higher time frame, we'll just kind of look at higher time frame structure. We have a lower low, we have a lower high, right? Expansion, pullback, expansion, pullback, expansion. Okay. Where is the last buying volume within the previous pullback? Well, if that's the pullback, where's the last buying volume? Well, it's right here. That area of supply. So we're going to be looking for price to get back up into that level. If we have an overall retracement, that could definitely be an interesting level. However, keep in mind that we're entering into that higher time frame objective. So, you know, it could be a good hedge position if we find potential longs. So since we're entering into this region of demand on the higher time frame, if we, have a sell to buy, and then we, sell it maybe from that level in case we were to continue short with the overall downtrend that we're in, then we can definitely do so with the understanding that we could also be looking to potentially buy it upon a pullback if it decides to stop and actually reverse because we've come into the objective region. So that's how I would look to hedge that. However, we haven't even pulled back up into that level yet. So I want to continue with the lower time frame trend, just like I went over with you guys on that EURNZD setup. So lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Where is the end of this pullback? It's right here. That's the last buying volume. Lower low. So that's the supply. Called that out this week. Guys, it's really not that difficult, right? You just have to know what to look for and continue to practice. And when you get your setup, take it. When you don't trade it, right? So many people lose in this industry because one, they don't have a trading plan. But two, even if they have a trading plan, they're not sticking to it. They're not following it. So important for profitability. So that's our last buying volume. However, we also have an area of demand that we just broke right through. So that inside supply now. So we have two levels, right? We created the lower low, so it could be in for a pullback, lower high for a potentially lower low to continue with that lower time frame. So into that level of inside supply and then that level of supply here as well. So really just kind of filling this huge sell side imbalance. So that's Euro USD, dollar still strong, looking for shorts. GBPAUD. So like I said before, Aussie dollar is still quite strong at the moment. Pound is absolutely death. I don't want to fight the momentum short here really on GBP XXX. Just want to continue to look for shorts. We have this previous market structure, high, low, high. So we could be in for potentially continuations along like this, maybe right below this previous low, somewhere in here. That could definitely be a possibility. So a little bit further short regardless. But if we were to take this as sell side liquidity and run lower, we have levels of demand in here. I talked about this a couple of times in prior videos, but again, just following structure, high, low, high, previous last selling volume. And again, made that higher high, but created sell side liquidity, ran it short, mitigated that demand, and then went long. Last selling volume, well, look at the counter trend. That's the end of the pullback. These are the last two selling volumes until we made that higher high. So we could have definitely the possibility of running lower into those two levels for longs. But regardless, we're still bearish until we come down into one of those levels, whether it be in here or down in here. All right. And guys, I know I talk fast. I know I go through these very quickly. So, go back and rewatch parts in which you're not too familiar with or are confused about. All right. So looking at potential opportunities, well, we can see that we had a low, we had a high, we had a lower low, we had a lower high. This is the last buying volume here, in which generated the lower low. Also the imbalance, the straight selling volume. And also we took buy side liquidity. Buy side, we ran it, and then we fell. We reacted off of demand, and we failed to generate a higher high. Instead, we made a lower low. So that would be that repricing in which we look to turn or flip from demand to supply for shorts. And we also have this 1 hour 50 EMA confluence. So looking for a GBP AUD shorts going forward. All right, about halfway done here. Your USDCHF. So, dollar is definitely strong. And that's just clearly evident with the current structure on USDCHF. So quite a bit of analysis here to go over, quite a lot of different areas of interest. And guys, if you've been following our videos for quite some time, you would know that I have multiple areas of interest. Doesn't mean that one is going to happen or going to be more valid than another. We just play the probability game. We play the probability game and we play the risk to reward game. And what do I mean by that? Well, if we're currently bullish in this market, I always look for lower and higher time frame trend. So the higher time frame trend is here. Well, semi-higher time frame, I would say. High, low, high, low, high, low, high. So we could have a low, wherever that is, right? This is the range. This is the low that generated this overall high. So we could have that overall pullback for continuations. So we have to ask ourselves, where is the pullback before the expansion? Well, if this was the expansion, the pullback is right in here. And what's interesting about this region is that before we created this pullback, we generated equal highs and equal lows. We ran higher, enticing buyers above the breakout of this resistance, came lower, taking retail stop losses because they're placing their stops below the low, attracting sellers below the breakout of this support, and then running higher to take their stop losses, in which they probably put above this high. So we can see how retail concepts just do not work. It is not how the market moves. Retail will always lose at the end of the day. So we have this, what we call type 2 manipulation, buy to sell to buy. So we're looking for continuations long. Where are our last selling volumes? Where's the end of the pullback? This is the pullback. Where's the end of it? Well, we have a couple of regions between this high and this low. We have, just look at the selling volumes. We have that selling volume here. We have one right here, and then one in the middle. You can't really see it. If you scale in, you'll be able to see it, but there's, a buildup of liquidity here and here on the lower time frame. We sold to buy, so we had that level of demand here. So just a couple of levels that I wanted to mention when it comes down to having overall pullbacks from the higher time frame. Now, what if we were to just continue with this trend as we're seeing it right now, just like that? Could we see something like that? Well, yeah. There's nothing to say we can't, because we're continuing to make lower time frame, higher highs and higher lows. So let's look at current price action. I would say this is sort of like reaccumulation. And then we had that higher high. We generated sell side and buy side. We ran lower first, sweeping sell side liquidity into that last selling volume demand, and then continuing higher. In the process of that huge sell to buy, we generated a few repricing events. One happens to be here within that selling volume, would also sweep sell side and fill in the imbalance, just straight buying volume here. But if we come lower and having that overall pullback, because we know that this is the low that generated this high, so this is the range, if we see a deeper retracement, let's see what's going on in here before we really broke that high. The sell to buy, but what's going on in that imbalance? Well, let's scale in. 15-minute time frame. I would say that really anywhere in here would be fine now. So I'm actually going to expand this, make this an even level of demand. And we'll notice that after we created that huge sell to buy, we repriced. We failed to make a lower low below that low, and then we made the higher high. So this will be from pretty much 89750 to 89480, essentially. So anywhere in these two regions of demand, definitely looking for continuations, the upside. So that's USD Swiss franc, NZDJPY, same sort of deal, continuing to find the demands in the overall structure, because the overall structure is bullish. We took a long from this level here, 86.065. We've been in this long since the middle of August, so a little over a month now. So this has turned into quite a higher time frame trade, a long-term swing trade. That's just because we've been in consolidation, as you've seen for the past couple of months. So not a lot of movement in terms of linear trends. So what we'll notice is obviously we're bullish. We're making highs, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. That's why when we had this huge sell to buy, we broke the counter trend, we came into that last selling volume, right? Because the end of the trend, counter trend here, low, high, failed, higher high. That turns demand. That creates the demand or supply right here, the previous high. Failed to generate the low within this current downtrend, or counter trend, I should say. Created the higher high. That turns from supply to demand, and that's why we had that mitigation. So again, it's the same concepts, just rinsing and repeating. Scaling into a lower time frame. Talked about this level in here. When we had that huge sell to buy, I'll actually go to the 15-minute and use bar replay. When we had that huge sell to buy, what we did is this was a huge news event that came out, created buy side and sell side. So I have sell side, buy side, sell side, and buy side again. Either way you look at it, ultimately it's just manipulation for continuations to the upside. We're bullish trending. Any sell side run, many retail traders were trying to trade the breakout here, trade the breakout here, trade the breakout here. They were just doing everything that they could to try to make some money, which they really didn't know what they were doing. Anyways, when the trend finally solidified, we continued. That's that last selling volume that failed to generate the lower low within this counter trend downtrend that ultimately led to that higher high. So 86.0650 is definitely that level of interest, and that's exactly where we came into here. And we can notice that we generated a lot of liquidity. We generated this pennant formation or wedge, and that's just a telltale sign that retail is about to get screwed. All right, so we had that level of interest there. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. We sold, faked out of that, or really broke out of the wedge low, and then ran higher. Retail was enticed short prematurely, and then we ran higher. So ended up having a small pullback, continued, took forever to continue long, but we're finally making moves now. So just continuing with this trend, high, low, high, low, high. Where's the pullback? Well, it's right here. Low, high, failed, higher high. That's the last selling volume. So that's exactly where we came into, had the reaction, reacted, failed to make the lower low, and then a higher high again. So the current range of the market from this sort of time frame is right here, from this low to this high. So we have two repricings, that doji candle here. So we could pop down into that level, 1 hour 50 EMA retest, continuations, or a little bit of a deeper retracement into that last selling volume for continuations long. So either way, I'm looking for yen weakness. New Zealand dollar has been strong, like I mentioned, so continuing with the trend here is definitely what we should be looking for. NZDCAD. So just a few more before we wrap up. NZDCAD is definitely still bearish, right? We're making lower lows and lower highs on the higher time frame. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, lower low. So when we create a lower low, does that mean we're immediately going to make a lower high, an overall pullback? No. Well, because that just kind of proves itself here. We made the lower low here. Doesn't mean we're going to get an overall pullback yet. We ended up just kind of trickling and continuing. So we can't necessarily expect an immediate pullback. But once we take out a previous high or low, and in this case a low, we have to just be cautious of the lower time frame trading, meaning you can continue to trade with this lower time frame trend, which it actually did work out. It actually just continued to trade off supply. But it could have had an overall pullback because we created a new lower low here. So that's just kind of just a little piece of advice to look out for. But anyways, where's the current range? Well, that's the supply, lower low, overall pullback, sweeping buy side. We stopped into that supply, and then we made the lower low. So from this high to that low is that current range of the market. So could we have an overall retracement and continue short? Well, yes, we could. That's the last buy to sell volume. So if we scale in here, I know you probably can't really see it, but if you go to the lower time frame, you'll notice that in here, after we created that huge buy to sell, we had a repricing event, and that's the level of lower time frame supply. So could sweep all of this buy side liquidity, in which we're kind of doing now. So definitely looking for potential longs into that level only if we have the setup to do so, right? We treat each trade as its own. Just because we want price to come up into that level doesn't mean it's going to. We could easily just stop right now and continue with the structure. That's definitely a possibility. However, because of the fact that we have, I'll pull up the VFI indicator, our like volume flow indicator, kind of shows price divergence and potential reversals. We can see that price is falling, but volume is rising. It's just an indication of a potential reversal, not overall reversal. Just means maybe intraday, intra-week pullbacks, higher time frame retracements. So anyways, we have divergence here. We have the accumulation, discrete lower lows and lower highs. We broke out of this counter trend. Most importantly, we failed to generate the lower low, and then we made another higher high. So now I'm looking for buys. Well, you would ask, well, why didn't you look for buys upon the breakout of this structure here? Well, that's really lower time frame structure. If you want to look at structure, I would have seen it from this perspective. Low, high, low, high, low, high. And then in that case, we're still bearish. We failed to generate the lower low. Now we're bullish, counter trend. So it is counter trend. So maybe reduce your risk a little bit, but we can see that that's the last selling volume and repricing event before that higher high was created. We have the 1 hour 50 EMA confluence. We could pull back into that demand, into that higher time frame objective to then potentially look for overall shorts again, right? So that's kind of how we can look at it from a top-down perspective, and that's NZDCAD.
Folks, if you're looking for an automated trade journal or trade copier, then check out my sponsor, Swift Journal. They connect to your MetaTrader 4 or 5 broker or prop firm and give you amazing insights into your trading. To get 20% off, click the link in the description and use coupon code TRADINGNUT.
2 more, AUDCAD, same sort of deal. We could have an overall retracement into our zone, or we could just continue with the current trend, which is bearish. Either way, we have to zoom out and look at where we're going. Well, if we can just use common sense here, we'll know this is probably not a low in the market. We have relatively equal lows here. We are in an overall downtrend, as we can see. Lower low, lower high. We ended up sweeping buy-side liquidity, and then we made a lower low again. Pulled back into the last buying volume. That's exactly why we had the reaction, made the lower low. So this is the current range from this high to now this low here, right? So could we have an overall retracement? Sure. And where would that be? We'll just look at the counter trend of the previous pullback. This is the counter trend. If this is a high, this is a low, this is a high, this is a low, and that's the failure to generate the higher high off of that demand, and we made the lower low, then that's the supply zone. That's the region in which we would like to see an overall pullback into. Not saying it's going to happen. We're still bearish. We may not get that. But if it does, that's the region I'm looking at, 0.89 psychological level, in which it would sweep all of this buy-side liquidity. So it'd be a huge sort of buy to sell potential. That's how I would look at it. However, we're currently still bearish, even with the lower time frame. Low, high, low, high, low, high, potentially lower, low. So in that case, continue to trade with the current trend until it breaks. So we know that this is the higher time frame trend. Low, high, low, potential high, potential low. Medium-term trend would be here. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, potential lower low. The lower time frame trend is right in here. Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, potential high, potential low, or overall pullback into the higher time frame, low, high, low sequence. So you kind of get what I'm saying in terms of the higher and lower time frame structure. So I'm trying to break this down as easy as possible so you guys can see it from a top-down perspective. If I scale into a 1 hour time frame, we'll see that we're following the mitigation trend here. Last buying volume, you can't really see it that much. You'd have to scale in. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. That's the last buying volume. I actually filled in balance as well. Lower low, lower high, swept buy-side liquidity, huge buy to sell. Within that wick, we had a lower time frame repricing so that we can extend that over, and that would be a potential area for pullbacks into, and that's exactly what happened. We ended up coming into that, mitigating it, finishing with the counter trend uptrend, and then continued with the overall structure, which is bearish. We're leaving a lot of buy-side liquidity. So highs here, highs here, highs here, highs here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we swept all this buy-side liquidity, came up into the last buying volume, right? Because this is the end of the pullback, right? This is the pullback. This is the last buying volume, or really right in here, have imbalance as well. But that's where we could pull back into to create lower low, lower high for a lower low. So what if we just continue with the current trend here though? Low, high, low, high, low. Well, let's look at the current lower time frame range. This is the range, right? Because that's the pullback. So between that high and that low is the range. We have that last buying volume. So that could have been an area of interest that we could have reacted from. We're into that region now. Could we continue short? Yeah, potentially. Or we could pull back a little bit further. And I think it happens to be the 10-minute time frame. If I just scale into it, you'll see that when we created the lower low, where the last buying volume is right in here, right there. So I'd like to see 0.87 would be good, psychological level. But then that doji candle looks very nice as well. So around 0.87030. So something like that. Overall, still looking for shorts. Are we going to get a deeper retracement, or are we just going to continue? Who knows? But that's why we have multiple regions of price to look at. So I know that was a lot. Go back and rewatch any of that. Make sure you fully understand it. Send me a DM. Ask me a question. I want you to fully understand this, guys. It's really not that hard. But once you get it and you start practicing with it and you're disciplined with it, you're going to see consistency. That's just what it comes with. AUDCHF, last one for the week. And of course, guys, if you are a part of our VIP group, that you're going to be receiving day-to-day analysis, setups, areas of interest, directional biases. If you're a part of our Funded Traders Club signals group, you're going to be getting actual signals for this. So up-to-date parameters for buys and sells, and where we're actually currently getting into ourselves as well. So anyways, AUD Swiss franc, last one. We are overall higher time frame bearish. As we can see in here, this is the overall structure. Lower low, lower high, lower low. We're starting to pull back, potentially for a lower high, for a lower low again maybe. In here, we really don't have any sort of structure. It's really just discrete lower lows and lower highs. So there's really nothing to play off of in here. So it's really tricky to kind of determine when to take profit on any counter trend buys or look to take sells for that matter. So anyways, we are lower time frame bullish, highs, lows, and we're just making higher highs and higher lows. I don't want to fight that trend. For instance, if we come up into maybe that imbalance here like we did, and then we start to break down, then we could potentially look for pullbacks to short. That could be something. But until then, the Swiss franc is definitely weak. Aussie dollar strong. We're currently lower time frame bullish. I don't want to fight the momentum right now until it otherwise proves me wrong, right? So we have equal highs here. So that's definitely an opportunity to buy into that liquidity. So with the current lower time frame, well, we have a couple of things. This is a high, that's a low, and then this is the new range. Could we have a deeper retracement to go long? Sure, we could. We can see that we already mitigated that demand, but this is an unmitigated level of demand in here. We have equal lows right there. We could sweep the equal lows into that demand to continue long. We are above the 4-hour 50 EMA. We are above the 1-hour 50 EMA. And where the 1-hour 50 EMA is interesting, it's right into this repricing. So we created the high, the low, the high, the low, in the process equal lows, and another higher high. So what's weird about this is that you can look to take a trade off of this level of demand. That's the last selling volume before the higher high. So that repricing, 1-hour 50 EMA influence for continuations, definitely. Stops would have to be below the previous low because we could sweep intra lows here and fill in balance. But this isn't as highly probable because we have equal lows to look out for in here. So we could actually have a deeper retracement come next week, maybe, potentially, who knows. If we do, that could happen. We may not. We may just continue on. That's why I told you that because I don't want to make you think that you could just sell it because there are equal lows. I don't want you to think that. We don't just place random buys and sells. Just because we have equal lows and a potential area of interest does not mean we should just open up our chart and immediately sell it. Right? It's not what I'm saying. We need to be more professional than that and not be dumb old retail traders. So anyways, we could have a pullback. If we do see that, keyword if, it would sweep equal lows, and that would be really great for continuations along sell side liquidity run into that unmitigated level of demand, and then we look to continue with the overall trend to go along there. All right, guys, so hopefully you're starting to understand these concepts if you haven't before. That's why it's so important to keep up with these pre-market analysis videos. Here at Aerial FX, we make smart money concepts simple. So guys, if you want to have a full understanding of exactly how we trade from a step-by-step basis and how to actually apply the concepts instead of just understanding basic terminology, head over to my website, aerialfxtrading.com. Book a free call with me. It's free. We just want to make sure that this is the right fit for you and the right fit for us. If it is, great. We'd love to have you part of the program. We'll get you signed up. But if not, no worries. At least you know that going forward before you spend money on something you don't need. And in the process, I'll even provide you with my trading plan absolutely for free as well. So guys, I hope you have a great weekend. Hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to shoot me a DM. Ask away. I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. So until next time, take care, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Tired of missing trades or spending hours at the charts? Introducing my Robot Builders Club. With our platform, you can build bots in minutes, not weeks, without any coding required. Get lifetime access to my video course, VIP community, and over 40 ready-made robots. Works with MT4 or MT5, and as a bonus, you'll get 3 months access to my robot lab, where we build and test bots on live calls every week. Join the hundreds of traders who are trading smarter, not harder. Click the link in the description to learn more, get the free training, and download a free robot.